I'm excited to be here to talk about our new furnace launch with you. And so before we get started, I do just kind of want to set the stage from where Carrier was at and where we're going from a strategy perspective and where we've been from our 2023 launches. And that's really, we want to be a leader in the industry and we want to lead with innovation. And I hope that you've seen that or heard that, specifically through some of the launches that I'm showing here below. So we were the first manufacturer to have CR2 rated heat pumps in the AHRI directory. We're starting to introduce welded aluminum outdoor coils to our products. That'll make our products lightweight, increase the durability of them. We also have our patented Vertex technology coil that's been out there in the field. So hopefully you've had some experience with that lighter weight design, those slide out rails for easier serviceability in the placement of the TXVs. Also uniform airflow as we look to, match with our great furnaces that we're going to talk about this morning. That new Vertex design has really improved consistent airflow across the coil for your system. Obviously, we have this great 18-speed furnace with near field communication, and that's the sole focus of the webinar this morning. So we'll get more into that. And then as we continue to launch and lead with innovation, we have our IntelliSense technology product that I am going to talk just briefly about this morning, because you'll see that when we get to the performance launches of our furnaces later this year. So let's get right on in to the new gas furnace. So with the heating platform, we really had the opportunity with our 2023 launches to take advantage of focusing on customer VOC and serviceability. And I think that's what you're going to see shine through when we get through this presentation. So we really took the opportunity to improve performance, specifically with blower motors in that Comfort series where we have our 5-speed product today and a new control board. And we're going to talk about all of those details in this presentation. We also wanted to make sure that you had all the information that you needed at your fingertips. So we were launching with new QR codes and also digital literature that's very formatted friendly for your smart devices, your iPads, your smartphones. And then, the most exciting feature, faster, easier installation with improving our Carrier Service Tech app and integrating that near field communication in it from a installability perspective and from pulling diagnostics information. So we're first going to start with the improved performance. So we'll focus on our new motors, and then we'll get to the control board. So as you've already heard, we have 18 speeds launching in our new product line. We had 5 speeds today. We could have went with 9, which is what you would see from a competitive entry tier product offering. People ask, did you go with 18 because it just doubles the competition? It totally works. I would use it. I highlight it when I talk about the product, but the real reasoning behind the 18 speeds is that we're utilizing the full torque value of the motors from 15 to 99%. And when you lay out those airflows in roughly 5% increments, you come up with 18 speeds. So double the speeds works, but that's the math behind of how we actually got to the 18 speeds. Allowing all of these speeds gives us increased airflows and up to 28%. So if you've struggled in the past where maybe you've had super high static applications and you've had nuisance limit trips, when you look at the improved airflows, along with matching with that Vertex coil, we see that issue eliminating for you in the field. It also allows us with this strategy to have a significant reduction in service parts. Today, that 5 fixed speed motor, those programs are housed in the motor module itself. That means every unique SKU or model number has a very specific motor part number with those airflows specific to that unit. With this new strategy, our airflows are actually going to be housed in our control board. They're going to be programmed at run test. And so they will be in the control board, allowing us to really commonize the motors across the product offering with carrying select tonnages. A great thing with our 2023 lineup is that we really started this transition in our entry tier, and that's because we saw the opportunity from the limited airflows to help from a system matchup perspective. Our criteria for the 2023 regulations was really that new M1 test procedure that required the 0.5 external static testing. So with only having 5 speeds, And, we've got one designated for heating airflow that was in our rise range of the furnace, as high as we could get for cooling. Constant fan that really left 2 airflows from a ratings perspective to get good ratings. And so with having 18 speeds, it's really opened up the opportunity for us to rate across multiple sizes. So where before you had a 3-ton system, we had good ratings on that furnace with, maybe a 3 and a 3.5, or maybe even a 2.5. With this, that 3-ton furnace, we're able to rate that down to a 1.5 tons and up to a 4 or 4.5 ton, just allowing more flexibility. And then I do get the question a lot, we don't need 18 speeds. Why did you guys come up with 18 speeds? You don't need 18 speeds. I agree. You need the 1 speed that you want for that homeowner application to really meet the needs of that requirement. And so with the 18 speeds, it gives you that option. And I think when you look at our strategy for the new control board, we've given you a great and easy way to integrate and set up that speed that makes it super easy and efficient for you when you're out there in the field.
Hey, Brooke, there's a question about max total static pressure. I mean, obviously, we've got all the info that's in the product data guide, but did you have a comment on max total static pressure?
Yeah, I don't have any specifics there. We do have everything out there listed on the website. So if there are some specific questions, they could come through. Maybe we could get back on those specifically later. But just in general, look for improved airflows. They are rated up to the 1 inch of static, and I think you'll see the improvements there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So moving along, we have this great new motor change. What in the comfort line, what does that mean for your performance and your Infinity line? Are we going to have motor changes there? Because all of our new furnaces are launching in 2023. So we've started that phase in with the Comfort series, and that's why we're meeting today to talk about that product, because we've started building and shipping this product, which is exciting. So I did want to touch base that in the fact that when you get to your performance lineup, you're still going to have that variable speed constant torque motor. So you're going to get your 2-stage heat, you're going to get your 2-stage cooling, and you're going to get your dehumidification benefits when the thermostat sends a call for dehumidification, with ramping down the blower speed to have airflow slow down across the coil and also reduce your blower off delays. With our new control board strategy, we are assigning a set number of speeds where before you haven't necessarily had that or seen that. And that's because in that product, you were utilizing dip switches to add or subtract 10% airflows. With your new product line, you're going to have dedicated airflow tables with 25 speeds that you will again set up through our new control board, through the display and push buttons, which we'll get to, or again, through that near field communication and the app capability. Same thing with your Infinity line. We're still going to maintain that variable speed, constant airflow, which is great for a performance perspective. As you have changes in static, your customer is still experiencing that same airflow. You get your variable speed cooling, your ideal humidity. When we get to the point of, with the Infinity system, one of the great features of that is that really plug and play application with the wall control. If you would want to overwrite what that system has selected based upon all the different equipment that's installed, you will have 4 heating airflow selections, 2 comfort modes, 2 efficiency modes. And so we'll have a lot more information coming out on those products too, as those are phasing in later in 2023. So I've already talked quite a bit about the control, just because it is one of the more exciting things that are changing with the new products. And so here's your first look at that new control. As you can see, it's got a 3-digit LED display. It has 2 push buttons for onboard navigation, and then it has that near field communication antenna. I will also say that we're excited that as we work through the transition and we get through all of the tiering launches, we'll be updating our door design to have a new tinted sight glass. So on your condensing products, you'll be able to walk up and see that display. similar to today where you see the flashing fault codes. That will go away and you'll have a new display, and we'll get into the reasons of that onto the next slide. So look forward to that later this year. Initially, your boards that come out, you'll have your display. We are maintaining that blinking, flashing LED light for fault code communication when you walk up to the system, but you'll see the transition to the sight glass later and gives you all the great features and benefits that you'll be able to see when you walk up to it. So let's take a real quick look at a deeper dive of the control board itself. So this is an up close look at it. We've called out that 3-digit display. And so your new display is going to do several different things. The first thing it's going to do, anytime the unit has power applied, it's going to give you the status from the thermostat. So here I'm depicting IDL. It stands for idle. So, you know, the thermostat and unit have power applied, but you're not getting a call for heat or a call for cool or constant fan. If your thermostat was sending that to the unit, that would be displayed there. So when your furnace is operating in heat, specifically single stage heat, it would say HT, cooling CL. We spent a lot of time to make sure the menus will be intuitive. So when you walk up to it, you see it, you know everything about the unit and can start to get to work on either troubleshooting or installing the system itself. We also made sure that as we launch this strategy across all the tiers, that as we improve or look at additional features in higher tiers, so when you get to 2-stage cooling and 2-stage heating, you'll see HT1, HT2, CL1, CL2. Again, just making the menus very intuitive as we advance across the product line. So as you start your integration with the new Comfort line, you'll be very comfortable and familiar when you get your new Performance line and Infinity line that's coming out later this year. The next use for your 3-digit display is your onboarding setup. So everything that you can do on board through the control from a setup and configuration perspective, you can also do through the app. We wanted to make sure that users were comfortable with both. So if you're not familiar with NFC, but we're gonna get into that too later, and really even give a live demo as to how quick and easy it is to do that. But if you choose not to use the app, you can do everything as it is just on the system itself using the menu and the 2 push buttons. So what we're scrolling through here would be me simulating pushing the left menu button, as those are all your main menu items from a setup perspective. As you can see, heating off delay, cooling off delay, direction. So when you're in downflow, you can switch your direction to downflow. So once we have that new sight glass on there and you walk up to the system, you'll still be able to read that display. You can set your twinning capability, so you'll be able to select your primary and secondary furnace. You will still need a twinning kit to actually connect and make sure that the blowers run at the same RPM, but you will be able to select your primary and secondary through that. Your fault codes, those are actually going to be the first item that shows up in your menu. Again, once you do the initial setup of the system, hopefully if you're out there for a service call or you're out there just to do routine maintenance, you'll be able to see those faults right away or look back through the history. One of the improvements with the new Comfort line that's coming out is that we're actually going to house the last 7 fault codes in the control board. Today, you're getting the most recent severe fault that's flashing in that LED. And when you take the door off and lose power, that goes away. These 7 faults will be housed in the memory, and you'll be able to pull them off into the app as well. We talked about it a little bit, the fault code communication. So again, no longer requiring you to count those flashing lights, having access to the last 7 faults that were on the equipment itself through the control board. You've also noticed we have a 3-digit fault. So we all know that pressure switches are a fault code 31. You'll now see a fault code 31.1, 31.2, which gets to a little bit more detail of where the fault occurred. Did the pressure switch open? Is it stuck closed? Again, giving you more information and detail when you walk up to the equipment. So that way you can troubleshoot it faster, get the homeowner up and running faster. Everyone's happy. You can move on to the next job. And then what I think is the most exciting feature here, it is that near field communication antenna. So you will see that in the upper right-hand side of the board. We did keep that as far away from the high voltage area, which is on the lower left side of the board, because you'll be in there with your phone. And so that is exactly why we like to say the future is a tap away with your new products. So this is where we're going to transition to a live demo where I can go through and set up a board and pull diagnostic information. But I did want to take a minute to really talk through what near field communication is to make sure that we all have the same baseline understanding. So you're all probably familiar with Bluetooth. Bluetooth is where you connect your headphones to maybe your cell phone, and you maintain connection even though you're not constantly pairing or touching or communicating. It's just got that connection that stays sustained. With near field communication, it is point in time connections. So you're going to tap the control board to pull information, and you're going to make modifications in the Carrier Service Tech app. And then you're going to push information back to the control board using that same tap. So you have to do that follow-up tap or none of that information will transfer on. It's all point in time contact transfer of information. You've probably all used near field communication, even though maybe you think you're unfamiliar with it. But if you've used Apple Pay or Android Pay or Tap to Pay when you're at getting gas or at the grocery store, that's all using near field communication. Another item I want to talk about with near field is that we are specifically not going to have power applied to the equipment when you use near field communication, which is great because today I'm going to give you a demo and I just have this control board here. So it's great from a servicing perspective, as in if you have a failed board and maybe something sparked or there was a power outage or something of the sort, you could still integrate and pull off information off of that board. We're keeping you safe from that high voltage application. So that's just another one of the things that we all need to keep familiar. If you try to connect when power is applied, the app will say, hey, you need to power down the equipment and try again. So again, I think we've laid the app out fairly well too, that you can see, all the communication and the messaging and the prompts to help get you through this transition, because we understand it's a new product, it's something new, it's exciting, but we are going to have to learn how to use and integrate with that. So with all of that being said, I am going to move over to my device so that way you can see what I'm showing through the Carrier Service Tech app on my phone as we go. So here I have, this is the latest version of the Carrier Service Tech app that's already available on the Apple Store or the Google Play Store. One of the great things with the near field communication is that everything I show you today and everything you will do with near field communication in the app is that you can continue as a guest. So I'm not going to log in. I think that's great for those that have problems, remembering username and passwords. I'm one of them. We've got a lot of them. One less thing that we have to worry about. Everything I show you today, you can do as a guest. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to connect to our outdoor unit or furnace. This is laid out very similarly. We tried to streamline it into the system that you're familiar with. So if you've paired with Bluetooth on our outdoor Infinity systems, it's same type of screen looks and views. So you'll be somewhat familiar, I think, when you see these. But obviously for today's demo, we're going to go to the furnace with the near field communication. So I'm going to click on that item. So the app, it does 3 specific things for us, and we're going to hit on all of these today. You can pull diagnostic information. You can use it from an installer setup perspective. And lastly, we can use it to replace the control board if we have a failed control board at some point in time during the life of the product. So I'm going to start with our demo with installer setup. That's the first thing that you're going to do when you get these great new products, is you're going to want to get them set up and installed with the correct airflows. So I click on installer setup. At this point in time, it's asking me to do the near field communication, the tap, Now it's pretty quick. It's a second or two. It does depend on the thickness of your case. So it might be closer to the 2 seconds. Mine is usually within a second. I will also note that you need to know where your near field communication antenna is on your device. So I'm in the Carrier Service Tech app. With an Apple device, your antenna is generally in the top corner or in the top edge here. If you have an Android, it's in the center of the back. So where I'm going to really do a tap onto the board, Androids, you're going to lay flat over top. So here, I'm going to actually, first I have to hit the connect button. That's the first thing I have to do. And then I'm going to hold my control over and connect. You see how quick and easy. We say it's tap away. I want to make sure everybody understands it's a tap and second hold until you get that confirmation check mark from the screen. So here at this point, I am able to go through and set up all the things that I showed you scrolling through that menu item. We pull in the model and serial number at the top. That's important when we get to some functions and features later. But let's just dive right on in. So I'm ready to set this furnace up. I'm ready to go and set up my heating airflow. So that's what I'm going to select. So the first thing I want you to notice about the heating airflow is I just sat here and talked about how great it is that we have this 18-speed product. Brooke, what gives? I only see options 5 through 17. That's not 18. And you're absolutely correct. And that's because we kept every specific SKU. Every time you connect, it knows what it is. It's the fact that we are keeping you in the rise range of the furnace. So if it will not operate in an airflow from a heating perspective, you don't have that option. So no accidental, setup of something incorrectly. Right here, everything that's available to you from an airflow perspective is shown here on the screen from your heating perspective. You can take your, I guess one thing too, just in general to note as we look through the items, you will always see what factory default is. So I've played around with this control a little bit, but if it was your first time connecting, your 12 would be down there on your 9 where factory default is. So it's going to be called out on all of your screens. We call it out on our airflow tables as well. So you will see that. You saw how easy it was. I basically put my finger on a bubble and I can drag my ruler bar. When I look at my airflow tables to what airflow I need, I leave it. That's where I want to set it. I set OK. So we've just adjusted the heating airflow. Again, nothing's been done to the control at this point in time because I haven't done my tap to communicate back and send the updated changes. Looking at the cooling airflow, very similarly, same type structure. Here, obviously, you see your full selection of 18 speeds. So again, put your finger, drag the bubble. Now, one thing that we've done to try to build efficiencies into the app and help give some direction from a configuration and airflow perspective, you see at the top there, it says select cooling tonnage. Now, this is a drop-down box that if you're pairing this with a certain tonnage outdoor system, as you can see, I've got lots of options here, not just 1 or 2, like you might have had in the past with your 5-speed product. If I'm matching this with a 3-ton outdoor, I do that selection. It knows that that airflow speed range that it recommended is 350 CFM per ton at 0.5 static to 400 CFM per ton at 0.8 static. This is just giving direction of where typical installations would like to be for those size system requirements. Now, if you have higher statics, then maybe you need to pick a different airflow. And we highly encourage the use of utilizing the new airflow tables that we're also going to show you this morning from our QR code perspective. It gives you a recommended speed. You absolutely do not have to leave it within that speed. You can adjust it within those suggested speeds, or you can move it outside. It's just a recommendation. And just to show you that it is unique per that outdoor matchup, I just selected the 2-ton. As you can see, my range changed. One thing I also forgot to mention, another great thing with near field communication is that I'm not in airplane mode so that I can connect through the cell service to stay attached to our webinar. But a lot of times when I do in-person demos, I go into airplane mode so I'm not distracted. I'm in do not disturb mode now, which I just kind of learned about. But to do diagnostics and installer setup, which is what we're doing right now, you do not need Wi-Fi or cell service to connect an NFC and pull and push data. Now, when we get to the replace control board, we want to make sure that we're putting the correct things on a new control. So it will need cell service or Wi-Fi to validate the serial number of the unit up into the cloud. But if you're in a bad cell service area, you can't get access to Wi-Fi, you can still use the near field communication, which is great. So I'm going to do a selection on my airflow there. I'm just going to leave it where it's at because I'm just setting up a fake system right now. Continuous airflow. Again, you see the factory default down there at the bottom. Again, I can move my bubble anywhere I'd like and select OK. Now looking at the blower off delays, we have radio style buttons, and that's because there's a lot fewer options. There's 4 versus the 18. So a little bit different of a menu selection there. Again, just a quick selection to whatever your homeowner prefers or what you think is best for them from what they've communicated to you in regards to their blower off delay. Cooling blower off delay, very similar type settings. I'll make an adjustment there just for the fun of it. Again, your orientation, upflow horizontal, doesn't do anything to the screen. It stays the way that it is. But if you go to the downflow, it flips it for you for when it's installed. And then again, we talked a little bit about your twinning, still needing your kit, but here's where those selections look like to set your primary or off if you're not twinning, and then secondary.
Hey, Brooke, quick question right here on this. Will we need to be looking at the book for a table to see what each of these speeds reflect in CFM, or is that going to be shown on these screens?
So it's not built into the app at this point in time. I will say that we've got some feedback to, if we could integrate it, that would be great. And we're investigating any improvements. And I think as we get these products out there, we're going to continue to hear, hey, it would be great if we could do this. And we're fully open to accepting that VOC and seeing how we can make the product better. We have improved what I believe are airflows, but you will have to reference a table. We have communicated, and you're going to see in a couple slides when we get back to the presentation, new QR codes that will take you directly to your airflow tables. So you'll have access to them a lot quicker versus sorting through that manual to get there.
Nice. And then I just had an observation, tell me if I'm correct, but let's say normally you'd have an 80,000, 3.5 ton application, and all you have is an 80,000 5-ton blower furnace in stock or, available when you need it. I mean, you would be able to, with this situation, then you could just adjust the cooling.
You'd be able to down select a lower airflow. So giving a lot more flexibility to units that you have available.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've done all the selection changes. I'm now going to put that information onto the board. I'm going to hit continue. It's going to give you a confirmation screen just to make sure that this is what you are currently set at. Here's your new settings. Are you sure you want to do that? I absolutely do, because I'm a tech and I know what I'm doing. And then it shows you to, again, place the device near it, and it's now updated. So if I would go back into the control board and pull the settings, it's now going to be updated to what we just had. I do want to show too that we have the option. So if you're in the residential new construction market, we have this feature called Save to Favorites. And so I'm not going to actually save this one, but I will show you quickly how easy it is to apply a saved favorites. So if you're setting up multiple floor plans in a community with the same system, because traditionally, you've got a standard set, you can save that floor plan. And you can program these furnaces before they would technically even go out to the job site. If you know that this is a Blair floor plan and this is what I need to program it as, I can do that. I want to call out here just this quick screen. So this is just a reminder for those that are new to the app. We didn't do anything with setting the gas pressure. If you need your conversion kits, you still need all of those things. So just a reminder, we do defer the notification for an hour, so it's not going to come back every time, which is what I've selected here. But again, just a reminder that while we've done some great things with setting up your airflows, there's still other things that you need to do on site, and that's just that reminder. So from an installer setup, I'm just going to quickly connect here again. You can see my updated configurations where I've changed all of those. I had selected 90 seconds for my heating off delay. It's there. It's updated. I just pulled it off now. If I go to open favorite setting, here are all the different favorites that I've saved in. It's free form text. You type in what you want. I want to change this to, this Blair floor plan specifically that I saved it as. I hit continue. This is what's specifically going to change on the control. I do my tap and boom, I've just updated it to go to that site. So again, hopefully a big time savings and just making sure that you get them set up. You can have a lead tech, get them all programmed. And then if you have another resource that takes them out to the site and gets them set that day, you can really maximize your resources based upon that. So I'm going to keep moving along because I feel like I still have lots of great things that I could share, but I do want to show you how easy it is to pull your diagnostics. So again, clicking the diagnostics, doing the connection, the simple tap and hold. I've done it here all morning, 100% success rate. Here we're showing the faults. So I have no active faults because again, this is just, well, actually it's like my best friend because I carry it everywhere, but it's just a board I've had laying around on my desk or in my bag for weeks on end. If I had a fault, it would show it here. It is showing fault counts. You can clear that out. I think there's a great opportunity to capture what you see on site through sending a report. And I've got a screen that shows that when we get back to the presentation as well. Your unit history, it'll show your cycles, your days in service, all of this information. And then again, component self-test, you can initiate this through the app and then upon power up, it will run through the component self-test, or you can do this one. Maybe you'd want to do this one through the control while you've got power applied to the board to just get it initiated. This is another feature that you've typically seen in our higher tier products. It's coming down to the comfort line. So if you're familiar with using that self-test to test the major components, it's available now in your new Comfort Series lineup. I'm going to exit that, replace control board. I'm not going to actually live demo this one, but I will talk about it quickly. So one of the great things with near field communication is that if I wanted to replace this control board because it failed in the field, using the app and the replace control board feature, you're going to have to type in the serial number, or we have a 2D barcode on the rating plate. That's where it says scan. You'll use your camera to scan and it'll automatically fill it in. You will have the option to actually copy off the settings of your failed board. Now remember, you don't need power. So even if it's not working or functional, as long as the memory wasn't damaged, you're going to be able to pull off your exact settings that you had configured and push it to your new control board. So you'll pull off with near field on your old, push to your new using near field communication. What this does is save time because you don't have to reset up the board. It hopefully is going to make your homeowner happy because it's going to get that unit up and running quicker. And two, it's going to set it up the exact same way that you had. So even though you set it up, configured it, it's working, it's functioning. If you've ever had a homeowner that says it sounds different or it feels different because maybe there was a little change in the airflow setting, you are literally going to set it up to the exact same setting that it was just running at before it encountered an issue. So great feature there. We also, for those who are choosing or don't have access to the app or a smart device, we have a smart plug. So that smart plug plugs in just like you're familiar with a model plug today. There's a plug in it on the control board. You would plug the smart plug in. It's a part from RC, so you could have it from a backup perspective. You would go to your rating plate on your furnace. It would call out your smart plug or recipe number. You would use your push buttons to get to that number. We've also made the push button super easy to use. As you start scrolling through 18 speeds, you might not want to push it 18 times. You can do a press and hold just like a remote, and it will scroll through for you. So you don't have to press. And when you get to your number, lift off your finger and it'll stay there. And that's how you would configure using the super plug that will come out. Again, super easy and quick with the app, but again, giving you the benefit and having that flexibility from the control board perspective itself. So I am going to stop sharing my app right now, and I'm going to go back to the presentation. So let me get that back open for us.
While you're doing that, I'll tee up some questions to you then. So good time to get into those. So
what do we got, Brian?
NFC without power to the board, what is powering the transmission? Is there a time limit for this ability?
So there's no power applied ever with using NFC. As soon as the power is taken off, you will have immediate availability to connect there with NFC.
Okay, earlier you said that the unit needed to be off to connect. If we're running the self-test, when in the sequence we turn the power back on?
So the app will guide you through all of that. You will do the connection and it'll pop up a screen and it says upon power up, it will start the cycle and the sequence. So after you do that connection and see that prompt, you can tape your door switch and or put the door back on all the way from a complete safety perspective, and it will initiate that sequence on its own.
And then lastly, right now, the settings on the furnace through the NFC we just saw, will that be overwritten by a thermostat, for example, Honeywell purchased from Cook Air? I added that last part.
So I'd have to look into that. I with our wall controls that are smart systems, you know, they do want to overwrite things, but you'll be able to do that with NFC. But I am not familiar that we would let a thermostat override the settings, but I guess it would depend on the specific thermostat, and maybe that's something I can look into and clarify and work with our controls team. So we can do a follow-up with that, and I'll make sure I'll get that back to Cook and we can get that answer clarified.
That'd be awesome. Thank you. That's what we have right now.
Okay, so we are gonna keep going through the presentation here. So I talked about the app report feature. It was just easier to put this on the screen because it does export an app. So another great feature of the app is that you can use this to help with your business processes. So I'm assuming when you go to a job, you're copying down your model, your serial number, what you saw, or typing in the notes somewhere. We have the capability, and you see what is traditionally shown there from how you would export out of an app if you're familiar with iPhones or Androids. And so you can send a PDF report. So when you walk out to the job for the first time and you're going to service or just do a routine maintenance, it pulls everything into this PDF report that you can email, you can text, you can airdrop, you can send it back to the office. So you're not capturing manually everything that you see when you walk up to the furnace. So it's going to have the fault information. It's going to have the exact setup of all your airflows that are on there. It's got your model, your serial, and its timestamps. So you can pull a report when you get there. If you're there for a service call, you could address the homeowner issue. You could clear out the faults. You could send another report at the end of the service call that shows everything cleared out and everything good to go from a running perspective. So I think there's opportunities to help improve the business side. You know, you don't have somebody copying manually and then somebody else typing it into a system potentially later. So again, something that we came up with on our end that we think will help your business, but always open to feedback if there's, you know, modifications or suggestions or something else we should look at to help expand the use of this. But it is kind of a little hidden feature that we haven't talked a whole lot about. So I did want to call awareness to that during this webinar. All right, we're going to move away from the NFC just so we have a little bit more time here towards the end to focus on those other improvements that we talked about, which is really information at your fingertips through the use of QR codes. So we've added specific QR codes to the product. We have one that will go to your troubleshooting guides. That'll be on the booklet of your 90s or your service label of your 80s. So if you're out there troubleshooting and you've got a fault that maybe you're unfamiliar with, or there's a newer tech out there that's unfamiliar to the Carrier product or the brand, they can scan with your camera now, because this is a QR code. This is not inside the Service Tech app. You'll scan with your camera and it will go to the troubleshooting guide to help walk through the selection of what you're seeing on site there. When you get to the booklet perspective, we have two new QR codes there. The first one, which is the one on the left, takes you to our NFC landing page. And this is really for technicians to get their first look at what near field communication is and how they use it on the equipment. If they haven't sat through one of these great webinars or watched it, we wanted to make sure that we gave you all the information. Even though you've sat through the webinar, I highly encourage you to go out to this site. It has a 5-minute video on near field communication. It's got your links to both the Apple and Android version of the Carrier Service Tech app. It has a link to your airflow tables that we're going to get to next. So if you want to see holistically all the carrier airflow tables, that has a direct link to that. And it's got a ton of FAQs. I talked about where your NFC antennas are, versions of phones, all things that are great to look through that I think will answer a lot of questions as well on near field as you start getting more familiar. The QR code on the right, which is something that, has already been asked, is easy access to those airflow tables. And here's your first look at what those new digital airflow tables are. This is a live active site. So I don't even know, you can take your camera out right now and hold it up to that QR code, and it's going to take you to the website for the 59SC6A product. So these QR codes were designated to get you to that model family specific, and then you'll select your SKU. If you had the 59SC2, which are the first products that are coming out, it'll take you to the 59SC2 page. That main airflow table that I talked about on the landing page will have all of them listed out, so then you can dive deeper in. But our goal was with this booklet was to get you to as close as where you needed to be as soon as we could get you there, which is sending you to the direct model family. We are also aware that sometimes these booklets happen to walk off while they're at the job site, and you might go out and the booklet's nowhere to be found. The QR code that's in the upper left, which is that main landing page and has the links to the airflow table, is on the rating plate of the new furnace. So you will have a QR code that you'll scan through your camera on that rating plate that'll take you to the landing page. You will also have a 2D barcode that we also talked about today that you will use in the Service Tech app that will scan in your model serial information when you're in the app. We've clearly outlined that too. One says scan in the app for model serial information, scan it with your camera for NFC information. So both of those will be on your rating plate. So look for those differentiations, and we just talked through how you would use them. So I want to talk about our tiering strategy to make sure that you're familiar with our great products again. So we talked a lot about the Comfort series today with that new 18-speed motor that's coming out. You'll still have your single stage heat, your single stage cooling. So no big change from a strategy there. When you get to your performance line, we talked about having that same variable speed, constant torque motor that you've got today. That's where you can get your 2-stage heat, your 2-stage cooling, and your dehumidification. We also talked about IntelliSense. So a great thing for our furnaces, when we launch our new performance series later this year, they will be IntelliSense equipped and enabled. So I know on the cooling side, they have a little bit different of a phased and staged in approach. But from a heating perspective, the furnaces with the new models, if you have a 2023 model with a new control board, the new display, the near field communication, it is also IntelliSense enabled. And then the Infinity system, we talked to that variable speed constant airflow motor, your variable speed cooling, and then obviously your ideal humidity from the best of the best in regards to that application. So I mentioned IntelliSense. I'm not going to talk a ton about it because it could be its own webinar, but I do want to let you know, if you are unfamiliar, what that means specifically from the furnace side of things. So if you are unfamiliar with IntelliSense, it is giving you more information and building that customer relation that you have with your customers. You will be able to see a lot of the data from the system, whether in live mode or in a troubleshooting manual mode, that you'll be able to go in, actually make some changes to the equipment and the thermostat. From a furnace perspective, what does IntelliSense mean to us? And so we will be shipping our new 2023 performance line product with return and supply air temperature sensors. So your return air temperature sensor will be factory installed. It will be on the control board when you get it. The supply air temperature sensor is going to come in a little plastic baggie. It's going to be taped at the bottom of the furnace, and you will route that in the field. You will route it up into the ductwork after the first 90 is where the recommendation is going to be there. The great thing about that is not only are we giving you supply and return air temperature sensors, our new display is the best place to display that. And when you're configuring the furnace, you will be able to see, it will menu item through automatically. I don't want to say scrolling because I don't want people to think the 7-segment display is scrolling, although you might see that come through on our Infinity line because that's a great new feature that we could show there. It will scroll through the items. It will flash sat and a temperature. It will flash rat and a temperature, and then it will flash delta T and a temperature. So again, just calculating your delta T for you there on site while the power is applied and the system is running. You'll be able to pull some of that information into the app with near field communication. But remember, we're not having power applied, so you're not going to see live numbers. But when you're out there troubleshooting, you're going to be able to see what was my high and low in heating and cooling when you look at your air temperature sensors. What was my average over this time period when it was running? So again, giving you more information, more detail, more data to help you really diagnose and troubleshoot what's going on. Our fault codes on the furnace side will also be sent to the cloud. So you'll be able to see this through the Carrier Service Tech app or through the Carrier Connected portal. But you'll see fault code information. You'll be able to do that remotely. And, great opportunity that if you are watching or monitoring or start seeing something that's going on with, the homeowner, you're going to be able to reach out, keep those connections and that business and relationship with them and maybe address their issue. I mean, just think about it. If you have maybe a customer that's calling saying that their furnace is just running all the time. Well, the furnace might not be running all the time, but you're going to go in, you're going to log in and you're going to look and you're going to see, oh, the constant fan is running all the time because they accidentally got something set up in their thermostat configuration. And you're going to have the opportunity to change that live for them, address their issue, prevent a service call of going out there for something very simple that you can take care of, keep your customer happy, keep building that relationship, and hopefully expanding your network through, those great interactions. You'll also see blower RPM feedback. So that's another item that's coming as well. I'm not going to talk into a lot of detail, but I get pretty excited talking about all our products and all the launches. So on your outdoor side, you're going to see your liquid line pressure and temperatures. You're going to see your suction line pressure and temperatures. So you're going to get calculated your subcooling and your superheat. So you're going to see that into the app as well. We're also adding an outdoor air temperature sensor to those products when they launch. So a little sneak peek into the IntelliSense, but important thing to know for your furnace perspective, your new 2023 models will be IntelliSense capable. You do require ecobee powered by Carrier new thermostats that are coming out, and one piece of IntelliSense equipment. So you can start with the furnace and really start that and IntelliSense with the equipment with just the thermostat and the furnace.
And those are coming this fall. There'll be more information, on that. But think about, you've got a customer that's 45 minutes away out in the country, and by looking at the faults, you're thinking you might need a particular part before you even go. You put it on the truck before you get out there, right? I mean, the benefits are immense.
Lots of great things. And as Brian mentioned, a lot more information coming. We've really just started rolling out a lot of the material. So a lot more to come on that. So we're getting close to wrapping up. I do have don't sign off because I do have some more exciting things coming at the end, but I want to hit lineup super quick just to make sure that you guys know it's same model family structure from an 80 perspective. You will see the major series revision. So your 58TN0A today is going to become the 58TN0B. So similar model families, but you'll see that major series revision to let you know that you've got the new and improved capabilities. Obviously, we've updated here from the motor perspective. We've classified our comfort series in the past with that FCT, that fixed 5-speed constant torque. You'll now see an MCT, or your multi 18-speed constant torque that we really kicked off today with. You see down at the bottom the features, the 7-segment display, the app with NFC capability that runs across the entire product lineup. So you're going to see it in your Comfort series, your Performance series, and your Infinity series. Again, eliminating the dip switches, eliminating model plugs, giving you really that connectivity through the app or those hands-on push buttons. We call out here your supply and return air temperature sensors. When you get to your IntelliSense equipment with the performance line there, you will also see them in your Infinity lineup as well to keep that product line the best. And a lot of great features coming, and we'll be sharing more about the performance and Infinity launches very soon because they are quickly coming right after our Comfort Series transition. On the 90% perspective, very similar strategy from the model families, with the exception of the 59 SC5 that you're familiar with today. It is becoming the 59 SC6. And that's because we hit 96% AFU and upflow configurations. So we're taking advantage of that. I would also call out that our two-stage Infinity, your 59 TN6, is going to have a 40K offering. That's an offering that we don't have today. So you're going to see a 40K model come into the Infinity lineup, and it's on your two-stage product only. Again, you see the changes to the motor, you see the changes to the features along the bottom. But there's one last thing I want to call out on the slide, which transitions into the next one. If you see the 59 SC6A, we show AFUs up to 97%. And why is that important? That's important because of all the news and buzz around the Inflation Reduction Act and what that gets your homeowners. So today, our modulating product, your 59 MN7, hits 97% AFU and qualifies for the Inflation Reduction Act. That means $600 for a tax credit for a homeowner who buys this system. What we're launching with our Comfort line is we have 3 SKUs that will hit 97. They're currently actively rated out there on AHRI. So I pulled it out of the directory. They're rated at 97. What this does for you is that when you're selling at the kitchen table, we have a product that's going to get them a $600 tax credit. We are the only manufacturer that has a single stage gas furnace product rated at 97 in the directory. I just looked again yesterday. I wanted to make sure I was clear on my word with that. So that's a big differentiator for you. You know, we want to continue, Carrier wants to continue to lead, to drive, to build business for you. And I think this is a big first step for us. So we're excited about the new products that are coming out. This is just icing on the cake. When you look at selling this product and competitively all of the new features, I think we've got a great product out there for you guys to go install, service, and sell to your customers. So with that, I'd like to thank you for all your time this morning. I am happy to answer questions. And if I don't know the answer, I will work to get the answer and we can have that feedback loop.
I've got a few out here and then some comments. Do you guys have a roadmap for the MCT going into fan coils, air handlers?
So I think we are looking at, you know, how we can maybe not even just the MCT, but even the near field communication technology. Really, furnaces are leading and driving. And I think we will see opportunities and synergies where we want to take that to other products. I do know right now we have why we've successfully executed our 2023 plan. We are very much heavy and into our new 2025 regulatory changes and directions there. So we're outlining where we can do additional service and enhancement improvements. But first key for us is making sure that we've got the new A2L Puron Advanced product available for you by that deadline of January 1st, 2025. So it is on the roadmap. Exact timing, I don't know, and it's not my product either as well. But yes, we definitely we've heard a lot of great things, got a lot of feedback, and we want to expand and continue where we can.
Thank you. So the Comfort series, right? Our basic 80, our 92, and what will be the 96. The production for those is starting actually May, June, July, August. There's a phase in, phase out bulletin. I wasn't going to send it out because if you didn't know the features and understand all this, you'd go, I don't even know what this bulletin means, but certain sizes, we're going to start seeing, maybe it's the 60,000, 14-inch wide, and we get some of those in stock. And our intentions are, these are all going to be coming in over the next few months, and we will be, selling out of our old current models and then rolling out the 18-speed MCT products. They do come with a price increase from the carrier on those. It's on an 80% furnace, it could be $60 or so, but 60, 70. But we'll be putting out that pricing as well. But we've got plenty of the current inventory, so it's not like this is going to be thrust upon you without you going, well, I didn't even want that, or I didn't have that priced in my job. So I just want to mention that. I've looked at the roadmap, that 97%, the 60 and the 80 that you show getting the tax credit, those are actually on your docket for June, July, meaning we could be selling that product in July, which would be really cool to get a $600 tax credit for a 96% furnace. I mean, and then there was a question about the IntelliSense and more information. We're going to do another webinar like this on the IntelliSense when we get closer to that product rolling out. And then also, because there was a question about information and training, our Cook technical team is going to be putting together their fall training, and they're definitely going to cover both the IntelliSense and the 18-speed MCT and setup and troubleshooting and kind of all those things. And, maybe they'll even have, technicians bring their cell phone and, pair up with a board, and we'll have, if they're doing the live training. So we're going to have a lot of training around these new furnace features this fall. And I'm sure someone asked about literature, but I'm sure there's going to be consumer-driven literature that a dealer could show a homeowner on these cool benefits of these furnaces, right, Brooke? I'm sure that's already in the works, maybe already out.
Yeah, but I mean, we're working on several things, but I don't know that we have anything direct to the homeowner. I mean, a lot of these features focused on our customers, as in and you, the distributors, the dealers. But yeah, I definitely think if there's something that's desired there, we can definitely work to get something put together.